9:05. Want to think about it?
Call me to order, Mr. Doyle.
Let's call the meeting to order, please. This is the regular meeting of the Binghamton Local Development Corporation Board of Directors. You have in front of you the minutes from the June 27th regular meeting. Or they're somewhere, they were sent. Over here. I'll take a motion. Motion. Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you very much. Rachel, the floor is yours.
So today we only have the financial report from June. We'll present the July financial report at the September meeting. So for June, we'll start on page 4 for the restricted account. At the end of June, the balance in restricted was $488,458.90. The following page, that's the accounts receivable page. Everybody paying right along, no problems there. I'll skip to page 6 for the UDAG account. The end of month balance in UDAG was $636,385.52. And on the following page, the accounts receivable page, everybody paying right along. The people who are in default, still in default. So skipping to unrestricted, nothing major going on in unrestricted. We had a few, between June and July, we had a few like sponsorship expenses, that sort of thing. And then we collected, it looks like, a few application and commitment fees. Those would be on our options in the Charles Street Business Park. On the next page for the group triad, no activity in triad. On page 10, the mayor's veterans, no activity in that account. And in the grant account on the following page, no activity grant account. So we can see same delinquent loans that we have had, and same collection efforts are still ongoing with those. So at the end of June, the delinquency percentage of all loans not designated as non-performing was 0.24. Does anyone have any questions? Okay.
Thank you, Rachel, very much. Listen, everyone is here today. Is there anyone who's not here today? Raise your hand if you're not. Fantastic. We have no old business. On the new business front, there's 2 resolutions in front of us this morning. 24-21, resolution of the Binghamton Local Development Corporation authorizing the president to enter into an agreement with Barton and Louitas DPC for additional services related to the Clinton Street Neighborhood Business District Revitalization Plan.
So for the 3rd year in a row, we are going after a downtown revitalization initiative grant for New York State. Trying to be optimistic that the 3rd time will be successful. We got really positive feedback on our application last year. There's some factors that were working against us but I think that they'll be happy to see our application come back in. I would like to ask the board to authorize a contract not to exceed $20,000. I do not think we will go anywhere near that. We spent about $3,000 on the update to the application last year. But I am going to ask Barton and Louitas to do a little bit more work this year. Last year, we took a lot of the work in-house. We just had them kind of compile it into the document. Just capacity-wise from the work that we're doing, I need a little bit more support this year. So I'm anticipating we'll be more in the $7,000 to $10,000 range, but just would like to authorize up to 20 so that we don't have to come back. The application is due October 18th. So we'll be working with them between now and then to get everything finalized for the application, and then ideally some support on developing the presentation that we will give to the REDC. Any questions on
How do you think the application will differ?
it? Honestly won't differ that much.
Should it differ?
There is an argument from the REDC that it should differ, and I'm kind of preparing a response to that because the fact of the matter is, because we didn't get the money, we did not advance the projects. And my argument's going to be, you know, part of the goal of the DRI is to advance projects that otherwise would not move forward. And I think this is evidence that without a significant influx of grant dollars, those projects aren't feasible. So there won't be significant changes. We've also started our public engagement process for this. We're required to do this for the application, but it also helps us validate that the things we've applied for in the past are the same things people still want. All of the responses we've gotten are streetscape, public art, facade improvements, just generally making it more walkable and bikeable. All of those things are kind of the core of our application and have been for the past few years. So I really think that the first ward and the folks on Clinton Street in general have really communicated what they want out of this for not just the last 3 years, but for the last 15 years, to the point where many of them tell me to stop asking them what they want because we should already know and just be doing it. So I'm going to make that point really strong into the REDC that the application is not significantly different. There will be updates. We'll get new numbers. We'll make sure those project partners are still engaged. But the reason that it's significantly the same is that without this money, those projects won't move forward.
But it helps that Charles Park has more activity.
Correct, yes.
More tenants.
Yep.
Building
Yep, and
possible.
we'll get letters of support from the tenants at the Charles Street Business Park. One thing that IA in particular has said is that their employees want more places to go. They want to be able to bank on their lunch break. They want coffee. They want more restaurant options. They want to be able to run errands. So we've already seen a little bit of demand there, and I've had a couple of folks who are trying to figure out how to meet that demand, but the building stock is pretty old. There's a couple of really interesting buildings on the market on Clinton Street right now that I encourage you guys to look at just because they're very funky. I've really never seen anything like the pictures of the insides of these buildings. So a lot of opportunity there, and as we're moving ideally more employees into the park, as we're advancing the housing project at 187 Clinton Street, there's just going to be more and more people in that part of town. So that'll help drive demand, but it also gives us an opportunity to kind of prep for that demand. So it's not just a response to people there, but we're prepared when people are coming to the street that there are amenities and assets there.
Do we have our state representatives advocating for us? Angelino and Leah. No, I mean, are they advocating? We used to have an advocate. You and Rich put together an advocate at the beginning of his first term.
For grant writing and everything.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, with somebody to help us with some of those things.
Yeah, we still have that firm is on board and is actually assisting on this application, but as it relates to really getting Lepardo and Webb, they have expressed interest and specifically Lepardo in trying to get Clinton Street over the finish line. I think that there's an understanding that, you know, really our competition this year is going to be Ithaca, right? I mean, I think that if you look at who's going to be eligible to apply, that are pro-housing communities, it's going to whittle down the number of applicants. Binghamton is one, Ithaca is one. So it's really going to be a Binghamton versus Ithaca argument at the REDC level. And I think that it's Binghamton's time. We've been saying this for a couple of years. But I would say specifically Assemblywoman Lepardo is very interested in making this a key part and advocating. And she is a voting member of the REDC as the longest tenured state official.
Well, that's what we needed. We need somebody advocating for
And,
us.
and she's been supportive in the past as well.
She did very good last
Yeah.
couple of
Yeah,
years.
she's been fantastic on this.
Yep.
Yeah, and Senator Webb, obviously, you know, Ithaca and Binghamton are both in her district, so I don't necessarily know that she'll pick a side in this particular.
Was
fight, but-
Angelino a part of this picture at all?
He doesn't represent the
Oh, he
city
doesn't
really,
represent it.
and I'm not sure if he's on is he on the REDC? So, you know, certainly would be supportive if possible, but
'Cause that's what'll put us over is advocates.
so the way that, just so everyone knows, I mean, the way that the DRI is selected is basically a vote of the Southern Tier Regional Council, excluding the ex officio members like me. So the group that we have to convince is not in Albany, they're not the bureaucrats, right? It's the members of the regional council. And so, you know, as we head toward the presentation and everything, maybe asking members of the BLDC to, you know, use your advocacy. Think about the people that you know, let them know what the argument is and what this project would mean for Clinton Street. and how it's a different type of project than, let's say, what would happen in Ithaca. You've got thousands of people who live in the first ward, this commercial district that has such great history, has the bones to be something really special, has low-income communities, has families that are living paycheck to paycheck that would be greatly impacted by this. And bringing back Clinton Street to what it once was, which was a huge regional commercial corridor, would be great, not just for the city of Binghamton, but our entire county. So that's the argument. That's what we're going to put forth to the REDC. And I think give them a clear choice that you've got a college town with an Ivy League school, and you've got the working class neighborhoods of Clinton Street. And I hopefully think that our argument's going to be well received.
Is Harvey still one of the heads of
Harvey's no longer on the.
Send us the board members' names,
Sure.
please.
yeah, that would be. Cause I might know a few of them.
Yeah, exactly. And that's,
Want
I
a good
think.
price on the suit, you better.
That's not say that, but that's, we know that
careful with
that's
that.
something that
Don't care.
I didn't necessarily do as good of a job in the past rounds. You know, I viewed it as, hey, we've got the presentation. If me and Sarah knock that out of the park, then
Which we
that's
did,
going to
for
be
the
enough.
record.
That's, yeah, Sarah did, I didn't necessarily. but It's going to take more than that. It's going to take more grassroots. It's going to take more of a united front. And I think not having Epcot, not having Johnson City also competing allows everyone in Boone County to just say, this is what we got to do.
All of us again.
The county
Yeah.
executive has been very supportive as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so,
Thank you for answering.
yeah,
Mhm.
no, it's, the mayor and I are both very passionate about Clinton Street in the first ward. I've sat on a couple of webinars about DRI. It's the same thing as they're always saying, but I just become more and more convinced every time I have these conversations that our project, it fits exactly everything that they're looking for. So from a strength of application standpoint, I think we're in a really good position. It's just telling that story, and I think the mayor just articulated the choice we have to make really well. And I will say, I think one of the things that was really effective last year was that the mayor put on the table, the choices in front of you are a community that's already gotten a DRI, Binghamton, and a very small community where this money doesn't necessarily have the larger regional economic impact. And I think that was compelling for a lot of the members, ultimately not enough for us to get over the vote threshold based on a variety of reasons. But I think that really is the compelling argument is, and to say it plainly, that these are the choices that you are being asked to make, and here is why our choice makes more sense given the parameters of the program and the goals of the governor's office.
Do the Ithaca people on the board have to recuse themselves from the vote?
Well, I think if they're based in Tompkins County or work in Ithaca or something, I don't think so. I mean, unless they've got some sort of,
Tied
tie.
to the application itself.
Okay.
Yeah, because the applicant would be the city of Ithaca. So unless they're city of Ithaca, I think they can still vote.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mayor. Ron's got the second. Any more discussion or comments? All in favor?
Good job.
Aye.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Very good job. Do we have a video of the project?
We had the video from last year. Might try to get some of that recut, but I can send that to you.
Okay, the second resolution this morning is resolution 24-22. Resolution of the Binghamton Local Development Corporation to accept the recommendation of the loan committee to award a commercial facade improvement grant to State Street Ventures LLC.
I'm gonna pass this one over to Rachel.
So this is a facade grant utilizing some of the money that we recaptured from the first round of facade grants. So it's a relatively small dollar project. State Street Ventures LLC is the social on state building that has been vacated by that restaurant, but it will be apparently another restaurant. So he's looking to do an awning and some lights. So it's an $18,000 project, and he applied for 50% of the project, so $9,000 to do that awning and lighting, which will look really nice with the rest of State Street, which is starting to look really nice. So our full committee, this particular applicant applied with several projects. All of them seemed really good. This project kind of seemed to fit best for the money that we have left and the timing and everything, so. The loan committee recommended approving this one. I think it'll be really nice.
Yeah, and I will say, as we get down to kind of the end of that funding, what we have really focused on are those small dollar asks, signs, awnings, things that have a big visual impact, and that, you know, when you're looking at your balance sheet, maybe it doesn't make sense to spend $7,500 on a sign. But if you can cut that in half, then it enables people to move forward with that. And we have a couple of other people we want to reach out to who don't have permanent signage or have kind of outdated signage, to see if they're interested. I believe we have about $10,000-ish in the fund right now. So not a ton of money, but that can go a long way. I mean, that can fund 3 separate signs and awnings. And I was thinking about this program this morning. You know, we put $500,000 in, and we've leveraged a lot of private money and made a lot of visually impactful and structurally impactful grants. And then we, with the Strategic Priorities Committee just yesterday, we're talking through our New York Main Street application. So that was about a $200,000 pot of money that we got from Homes and Community Renewal last year to specifically do facade work. We used the applications that we got in this program that were too large for us to fund to build that application. We're successful in getting that money. And now there's 3 other projects that we're looking to award about $50,000 each. Again, leveraging hundreds of thousands of dollars in private investment and making really impactful visual things happening specifically on State Street and in the Arts District. We have about $50,000 left in that fund that we're going to go recanvass and try to find an end user for. But so all told, this fund will have about $700,000 of impact from public money, but leveraging, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars more. So I think this has been really impactful. And if it's something that we can reseed or apply for other grant money for in the future, we definitely want to. And this would really be the model for what we would look to fund on Clinton Street as part of the DRI with another, you know, facade awning signage program specifically for that corridor.
Do they need approval of what it looks like in colors, or do they have free reign, or?
Yeah, so they'll need to get, I believe, a sign permit, and it'll also have to like fit with our Commission on Architecture and Urban Design standards. So there's a process, and as part of the grant, they're required to go through that process and get all the correct approvals.
And I believe they submitted kind of a rough.
Yes,
Did they? Okay.
I think so. I think like the shape of the awning, yes, and where the lighting would exist, but not like any of the verbiage on the awning.
Yeah, so but it'll go through the Commission on Architecture and Urban Design, and they'll have to approve that it fits the standards of the historic district downtown.
Any questions? Can I have a motion, please? Susan, thank you. Second. Thank you, Frank. Any other questions or comments? All in favor? All right, great. Thanks very much. Mayor, the floor is yours.
Great.
Keep it short, please.
Better keep it under an hour. Hopefully everyone had a good July. So it was good to have a little break, and I think that break resulted in a rejuvenated BLDC. We got everyone here today, which is awesome. Just wanted to give a couple updates, really kind of on the legislative government side of things. Kind of 2 important legislative initiatives that some of the folks in this room were a part of. I think that as it relates to the business community, that will really help out. You know, first and foremost, a couple weeks ago, I signed the responsible bidder language that members of the city council worked on, certainly Frank, as well as some of the local trades, to protect local companies and our local responsible contractors from being undercut by, you know, fly by night or out of town folks that we really don't have any idea what's going on. Due to New York State procurement law, you know, we have this lowest responsible bidder. So when we bid out public works projects, someone comes in low. Before this new law that we signed, we didn't really have a lot of ability to kind of vet those contractors and make sure that, hey, they didn't do something so bad up in the North Country, or wage theft in Western New York, or were, you know, knocked out of a project from the state level. So we've kind of modernized and streamlined the availability of bidders to fill out, you know, the forms, make sure that everything's on the up and up. And I think the ultimate goal in the long term, and what it will do, will be to make sure that our local firms have a real competitive advantage, that responsible bidders that are doing the work, that pay their employees the right way, they're following the rules, will make sure that it's an even playing field for everyone. I think that will end up actually costing the city less money in the long term, and supporting our local contractors. So I thank Frank and all of the folks in local labor. I thank the members of the city council who made it a legislative priority. The other thing that we announced, and actually Mike and Robert are kind of were key supporters of this, are changes to our zoning laws to really cut red tape, reduce regulations as it relates to housing development. And in short, we did 4 key areas. Number one, we eliminated all parking requirements for senior housing and affordable housing. These are the types of developments that have people who may not own cars and don't need the parking space. Removing that parking requirement will drive down development costs, will open up more land to have it developed for housing, will improve stormwater management, and we're really leaving it up to the private sector to decide what type of parking they want to provide and not mandating it. That drives up the costs. We're also providing the planning commission the latitude to waive up to 75% of parking requirements for all different types of developments. So if you have somebody that wants to come in, that wants to build more of a building and less parking, they have the ability to do that. We want to create more density. We don't want to have that sprawl that we see in other communities. And again, it will drive down the cost of construction. The other things that we're doing are streamlining and making it easier for townhouse and condo construction. These are the housing types that are very popular with young professionals, very popular with empty nesters. And we just had kind of outdated regulations as it related to the development of townhouses and condos. The last thing that we're doing is, again, modernizing and having less restrictions on lot coverage, lot sizes, setbacks. We have very small lots in the city of Binghamton. A lot of times, if you were looking at building even a single family home, which would be allowed by right in all residential districts, you're going to be confined by our kind of outdated lot requirements. So we want to, modernize those. A planning department, economic development worked a lot on this to just make sure that we take away all of the local reasons why someone would not build housing. And I think we're going to do that. I think it's going to be, a really huge step forward. And Binghamton can again serve as a model for being a pro-housing community, reducing red tape. Sometimes the best way that a government can help is getting out of the damn way. And that's what we're going to try to do with these zoning reforms.
First word in your comments.
I did. I did. So those are kind of the big updates right now, as we continue to chase state affordable housing tax credits, as we continue to advocate for our share of subsidies to build more housing and build more units, fight at, almost on a weekly basis to expedite and bird dog the housing projects that are in the pipeline. This is something that we can do as well to be a leader in the housing space. And that's all I have.
Right.
Just to build on the mayor's statements a little bit, I think one of the things that really struck me was that under our current zoning regulations, you could not build the west side. You could not build the April Bennett Historic District. That level of density is not allowed by our current zoning regulations. So right sizing those so that a community that everyone seems to be very happy with and comfortable with could be built under our new code. And then the other thing that we have found in the last 2.5 years is that the more we talk about Binghamton, the more we position ourselves as a community that wants development, that wants people building, that has attracted a lot of interest. And so I think this particular legislation has attracted the interest of a lot of people across New York State and across the region. And that is only going to bring more people who are interested in building housing. The one thing developers tell us is that if it's not easy to do something in a community, they simply won't do it. We've been, I think, very effective in paving the way for developments of all type, whether it's housing, manufacturing, retail. And that's really paid dividends over the last few years. And that's why we have such a robust pipeline of affordable housing projects in particular. And so I think this is just going to continue to build our reputation as a community that wants investment, that wants development, that wants housing, that wants manufacturing, and that we're willing to work hand in glove with these developers and organizations to make these projects a reality. So thank the mayor for his leadership on that. And I'm very grateful to the council members who are supporting that. Specifically, I know Councilmember Kavanaugh's work on condo language was incorporated into the proposal, and we're going to work to continue to make sure that what is in that legislation helps us attract those builders. Thank you to everyone who worked on that. Big updates for me would be Boscov's. Everybody always wants to know about Boscov's. We've had a lot of really productive conversations with DASNY, which is the organization through which Assemblywoman Lepardo's money is coming to us. Got off to a kind of a rocky start. There was some misunderstandings between their agency and us. We were able to get leadership on a call and really figure out what the path forward was. So we should have positive momentum from them in the next few weeks. We know exactly what our marching orders are, and they understand kind of the timing and urgency on this. And again, Assemblywoman Lepardo has been very helpful in navigating that process and advocating for us. And obviously working closely with Boscov's to help them manage the parking through the construction of the garage, and really aiming to get at least the first level of that open as soon as humanly possible. And then, open the levels as they are finished. So things going well, things advancing. We're not quite ready to vote on the lease yet, although I'm optimistic that we will have it by September. It's in essentially draft final state, and Boscov's really just needs to give us the sign off on it. Now that we've solidified how things are going to work with DASNY, that enables us to put that into the lease, codify everything, make everybody comfortable, and move forward. So excited about that, and definitely more to come. The other big update is that this board has been very supportive as we've tried to advance work at the Charles Street Business Park. So Firamar, which has been working at 22 Charles, continues to do a lot of deconstruction work. I encourage you to just drive around Charles Street. The amount of stuff they have taken out of that building is kind of incredible. Huge pieces of machinery and equipment. The mayor and I were in there when they were like blow torching massive pieces of equipment just to try to deconstruct them and take them out of there. There's some belief that some of the equipment was there and then they built the building around it. So it's been a little bit difficult to get it out of there, but they've really been awesome to work with, navigating through our planning approvals, building and code, New York State incentives. So we'll have some more momentum on that, but we're really excited about that project. I mean, bringing manufacturing to the Charles Street Business Park, to the first ward of the city of Binghamton. I mean, that's been a priority for decades. So to be able to have some positive momentum on that is great. And I think it will do nothing but increase interest in the Charles Street Business Park. Again, increase our reputation as a community that wants manufacturing, that wants to support businesses that want to come here. So those are kind of the two big things we're working on. And then obviously lots of day-to-day. Joel, as always, has been fantastic in working with our new businesses and small businesses that want to relocate, expand, move to the city of Binghamton. A couple of really exciting retail prospects right now that we think will be a great fit for downtown. So we'll keep moving those across the finish line. Janine's been great in building relationships with all of our small businesses and trying to get out there and understand what their needs are and make sure that we're being accountable to those. And then if you're driving down Court Street and you see the L2 project that we're funding through our loans, I think they're all signed and good now.
Yep.
They've had a lot of equipment over there. I walked by the other day and it really is a beautiful building. And once they're done with it, we've supported them both through our facade grant program and this loan program.
Describe where that is. So
It's the corner of Centenary and Court. Yeah, so it's it's a red brick building. It used to be the landing company. It used to be a tailor. It's got upper floor residential and then a first floor commercial. So they'll have their offices on the first floor, architecture, and then they'll have housing units above that.
oh, if you go through the traffic circle and you head towards the library,
Correct.
or down a little ways, it's down
On
on
the
the right.
right. Correct. Yep.
2 doors down from Rolando's. That's how I think about it.
You can see the mayor eating breakfast. Since you-
Yeah, so really excited about that project. A couple of other facade projects happening on Washington Street, and really just trying to support folks as they need it.
I had dinner last night with some friends of mine from Earlville, some Colgate people that came down, and they are huge Boscov supporters, and it gave me a chance to talk about the project. They're very excited, so.
Yes, I mean, it's a tourist attraction in its own right. It really is, and we're really excited about the improvements. It's a huge construction project. It's gonna take some time, and I don't think we'll see true visual changes for quite a while, but we'll be advancing elevators, taking out the escalators. I know this is a point of contention, but they are just very expensive to maintain. Not really the optimal way to do vertical transportation. And then, the end of the project is where you're gonna see more of the aesthetic pieces once the electric, HVAC, plumbing, elevators, and all those big things are completed. So we'll solidify Boscov's in downtown Binghamton.
All right, anything else from the group this morning?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ron. All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good day.
Good job,
Thank you.
guys.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks.
Really good job.